Most people are still waiting for spring. They're looking at the calendar, checking the weather forecast, peeking out the window each morning, waiting for some clear signal that says, now it's time. But the smartest gardeners? They have already started, and that's exactly why their gardens wake up earlier, grow stronger, and seem to leap ahead while everyone else is still standing still. Right now, your garden might look quiet. Empty beds, bare soil, maybe a few tired leaves left over from winter. On the surface, it feels like nothing is happening. But here's the truth most people never hear. This quiet moment is one of the most important planting windows of the entire year. In this short stretch of time, when winter is loosening its grip but spring hasn't fully arrived, certain plants are ready to grow. They're waiting for cool soil, gentle sunlight, and slow, steady conditions. They don't want heat. They don't want rushing. They want exactly what you already have right now. In this video, I'm going to show you what you can plant even if it still feels too early. I'll explain why starting now gives your garden a powerful head start, how it leads to healthier plants, earlier harvests, and a calmer, more enjoyable spring. If you've ever wondered why some gardens seem to thrive effortlessly, or why yours always feels like it's playing catch-up, this is where the difference begins. If you want stronger plants, fewer problems, and a garden that's already alive while everyone else is still waiting, stay with me. Year after year, I've noticed the same pattern. People treat spring like a switch. One day it's winter, the next day it's spring. And until that switch flips, they feel like they're not allowed to do anything. So they wait. They wait for warmer days. But nature doesn't work that way. When a garden looks inactive, people assume nothing can be planted. Cold mornings make it feel risky. And the phrase, "it's too early," becomes a comfortable excuse to delay. Gardens get started weeks later than they need to. Early harvests never happen. Everything gets planted in a rush once spring finally feels official. Many vegetables, herbs, and even flowers don't just tolerate early conditions. They prefer them. They grow stronger roots. They handle stress better. They mature at a steadier pace. When you rethink spring as a gradual transition instead of a fixed date, everything changes. You stop waiting. You start working with nature instead of chasing it. And something else happens too. Early planting often means fewer pests, fewer diseases, less pressure. Plants grow at their own pace instead of being rushed into heat and stress. This video exists for one reason: to shift the question from, is it safe to plant yet, to, what can I plant right now? Because once you understand that, your entire gardening experience becomes calmer, easier, and more rewarding. And here's the simple truth that changes everything. If you stop waiting for spring and start planting strategically now, your garden will never feel behind again. Many people make the mistake of checking the weather and deciding their garden isn't ready. Cold mornings scare them off. Frost warnings cause hesitation. But plants don't live in the air. They live in the soil. And the soil tells a very different story. If you've ever dug into the ground in late winter or early spring, you may have noticed this yourself. Even when the air is sharp, the soil underneath can feel workable, slightly softer, sometimes even warmer than expected. That's because soil holds heat longer than air. Sunlight reaches it directly. Moisture helps store warmth. And once it begins to change, it rarely goes backward in the same way the air does. This is why experienced gardeners pay attention to the ground, not the calendar. They understand that some plants are designed to wake up early. They germinate in cool soil. They grow slowly and steadily. They don't panic when temperatures swing. In fact, they often become stronger because of it. The key is not planting everything early. The key is planting the right things in the right places. Some areas of your garden warm faster than others, even if you've never thought about it that way before. Raised beds are usually the first to wake up because they drain well and catch the sun. Containers warm quickly and give you control. Areas near walls or fences hold heat longer. Even slight slopes can make a difference. You don't need fancy equipment to notice this, just observation. Year after year, gardeners notice that certain spots dry sooner, soften earlier, and seem ready before the rest. Those are your early spring opportunities. Now let's talk about preparation, because this is where many people accidentally create problems. Early spring work is not about digging deeply or turning everything over. Wet soil is delicate. If you press it too much, it compacts, and that damage can last all season. The goal right now is light touch, not heavy labor. If the soil sticks to your boots or tools, it's too wet. Walk away. But if it crumbles gently in your hands, you're in a good place. This is the time for quiet preparation. Clearing away dead plant matter, opening the surface so sunlight can reach it, adding compost gently on top rather than mixing aggressively, letting worms and natural movement do the work for you. By preparing now, you're reducing the workload later. When everyone else is scrambling to plant everything at once, you'll already be moving smoothly. Mulch deserves a careful mention here. Mulch is wonderful, but early in the season, too much can keep soil cold. Pull it back slightly. Let the sun reach the ground. You can always return it later when warmth becomes consistent. This small adjustment alone can move your planting window forward by weeks. And here's something many gardeners notice over time. When you prepare early, you feel calmer. There's less pressure. The garden stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a companion again. Because instead of waiting for the perfect moment, you're using the moment that already exists. You're building momentum quietly, without stress, without rushing, and without risk. And now that foundation is set, it's time to talk about what can actually be planted during this overlooked period. Because once you understand that, everything becomes practical. Once you understand that spring begins in the soil, the next question becomes simple. What can I actually plant right now? Let's start with crops that genuinely enjoy cool soil. There are vegetables that seem almost eager to grow when the ground is still chilly. Year after year, many gardeners notice that these plants don't struggle early. They settle in. They grow steadily. And they often end up stronger than those planted later. Leafy greens are a perfect example. When planted early, they grow slowly and develop better flavor. They don't rush to bolt. They don't panic in cool nights. They simply do what they're designed to do. Root crops behave the same way. They don't mind cool beginnings because their work happens underground first. While nothing seems to be happening above the soil, they're quietly building structure below. Many gardeners have noticed that root vegetables planted early tend to be smoother, more even, and less stressed. That early calm makes a difference later. Then there are plants that prefer to be started indoors right now. This is where early spring becomes especially valuable for older gardeners because it allows you to spread the work out instead of cramming everything into one hectic period. Long-season plants need time. If you wait until outdoor planting feels comfortable, they're already behind. Starting them indoors now gives them a gentle head start without exposing them to harsh conditions. You don't need a special room or expensive lights. A bright window, a warm corner, and a little patience go a long way. The goal isn't fast growth. It's steady growth. Many gardeners have learned this through experience. Seedlings that grow slowly at the beginning often outperform those that grow too fast. They develop thicker stems, they handle transplanting better, and they adapt more easily once they move outdoors. Starting a few plants indoors now also changes how spring feels. Instead of waiting, you're already participating. You're already connected to the season. There's another group of plants worth mentioning, and they often get overlooked. These are the plants that don't just grow food, but improve the soil itself. Some plants exist to protect, loosen, and enrich the ground. They hold nutrients in place. They shield the soil from erosion. They prepare the garden for what comes next. Gardeners who use these plants early often notice that their soil becomes easier to work over time. It holds moisture better, it feels lighter, and plants planted later seem healthier without extra effort. This is the quiet side of gardening that doesn't get much attention, but it pays back year after year. Now, I want to pause here and say something important. Early planting does not mean ignoring caution. Cold, hardy plants are comfortable in cool soil, but that doesn't mean they enjoy being disturbed constantly. Plant them once, gently, and let them settle. Avoid overwatering. Cold soil holds moisture longer, and too much water can cause problems before plants even get started. This is where patience becomes your strongest tool. Many gardeners have noticed that the plants they left alone early on often did better than the ones they fussed over. And that brings us to one of the most important turning points in early gardening. Here's the truth that took me years to fully accept. If a seedling gets off to a weak start, you can't truly fix it later. You can help it survive, you can adjust things, you can coax it along. But you can't undo a poor beginning. Strong plants are built early. Their roots, their structure, their resilience, all of that forms in the first weeks of growth. That's why early conditions matter so much. When plants grow slowly in cool, steady soil, they build strength naturally. When they're rushed into heat or stress before they're ready, they never quite catch up. This is why gardeners who plant early often seem lucky. They're not lucky. They're patient. They gave their plants the start they needed. By now, you can probably feel the shift, not just in how you think about spring, but in how you feel about it. So let's bring everything together in a simple, practical way. You don't need perfect conditions. In fact, waiting for perfect conditions is one of the biggest reasons gardens fall behind. What you need instead is awareness. Notice when the soil is workable. Let light reach the soil. Add compost when the ground allows it. These small actions don't feel dramatic, but they change everything that comes after. When spring arrives in full force, you won't be scrambling. You'll already be ready. When it comes to planting, restraint is your ally. Plant selectively, not aggressively. Choose a few cold, hardy plants that are comfortable growing now. Let them lead the season. Start long-season plants indoors so they can grow slowly and steadily. Use containers or protected areas to expand your options without increasing risk. You don't need to plant everything at once to feel productive. In fact, doing less early often leads to better results later. Preparation reduces risk. Simple covers, movable pots, or a sheltered corner can turn early planting into a calm, controlled strategy instead of a gamble. And just as important as what you do is what you avoid. Avoid working soil when it's too wet. Avoid overwatering in cold conditions. Avoid the temptation to rush heat-loving plants outside just because you're eager to begin. Eagerness is natural, but patience is powerful. Remember this, because it's the heart of everything we've talked about. Strong gardens are not built in a hurry. They're built with timing. If there's one small step I want you to take immediately, it's this. Go outside and touch your soil, not with a shovel, with your hands. See how it feels. See where it's ready. See where the sun reaches first. That simple act will tell you more than any calendar ever could. And once you do that, you'll know what comes next. You won't be guessing anymore. You'll be responding. That's the difference between waiting for spring and starting it. If you found this video interesting, subscribe to the Still Growing Seniors channel. It helps this community grow and keeps these quiet, useful gardening conversations alive. And I'd really love to hear from you. In the comments, tell me what you're planting early this year, or what you've noticed in your own garden when you start before spring officially arrives. Your experience helps others more than you might think. Until next time, take it slow, trust the season, and remember, you're still growing.